Hi, my name's Andy and I'm the Technical Sales Director for NC Tech. So today I'm going to show you how to use the new iSTAR plugin for AutoPano+Giga that we've developed in conjunction with our friends Color. The first thing that I need to just cover with you is that the first thing you need to be able to do is you need the source Jpegs from your iSTAR images. So here's a folder of some images I took in Spain, and if I open up these folders, you'll see we've got the raw file that you get from iSTAR, but you do need to have these JPEG images, these source JPEGs that are in this case it's a set of 3 exposure shots that I took, and you need these JPEGs. So by default, if you're capturing RAW in iSTAR, you just get the raw file. So just run your RAW files through Immersive Studio software and select the Extract JPEG option just to create the source JPEGs, and then the Immersive Studio software will then have created these images for you, and you can then switch to the Color plugin to process the images in AutoPano+Giga. So what I'll do now is I will just launch AutoPano+Giga for you. This is the 3.6 release candidate 1 release that you can download, which means that Color is still fine-tuning a couple of aspects of this version, but the iSTAR plugin is fully functioning, so there's no problem. You can go ahead and install this version and use the plugin quite successfully. It's also dual platform. I'm running it on a Mac, but it runs just the same on Windows as it does on a Mac. Okay, let's get started. So I'm going to go to the menu bar here, and at the top here there's looks like a little grid, and I'm going to select Import From. I'm going to choose that, and you can see they have all their plugins here for the different systems, and now they have the new iSTAR plugin. So I just click once to highlight it, and I select Next, and I've already set the program to look for my folder. It's on my desktop. It's the iSTAR folder that contains the images that I captured out in Spain, but obviously you can use the normal menu system here to go and find which folder you want. You can choose an individual folder, but in this case I've chosen the containing folder, and it's going to find the 3 sets of iSTAR images inside that folder. And if I want to, I can choose a specific folder. I'll call it Output. So in other words, I'm going to separate the panos from the actual source iSTAR images, and I'm going to put it into a folder called Output. You can see it's looked inside my main folder, and it's found that there's 3 iSTAR panoramas. So that's already done for me. All I need to do is select Finish, and now there's a couple of things happening. You can see it's gone into the 3 folders for me. It's detected my sets of fisheye images, so it's going to create 3 separate projects it's going to work on. Once it's pulled the sets of images, these are all 3-shot HDR, by the way. Once it's pulled the sets of images into their own little sequences here, it's now automatically doing a key point matching algorithm. And the great thing about this plugin is while you could load these fisheye images in manually, the plugin does a really good automatic job. And the guys at Color have done a great job, and in fact you can see the first one's done already. So this is the input on the left, and if you like the output, the processed result is shown on the right. So it's now working on the second scene, but while it's working on the second scene, you can be working on the first. And you could just render this straight out now if you want, but if I just hit Edit on the top right hand side here, it launches this edit window, which is a separate window. And if any of you guys have a dual monitor set up, this works really well, because you could have this edit window on one monitor and your source images on another. Really is a great way of working. So it's done a pretty good job of stitching. You can see the RMS is really good. Anything under 5 you can generally consider it to be a good stitch. So everything looks great. There's a couple of things here that you could do. There's an automatic horizon option, which just tweaks the image to level to the horizon. You can manually align to verticals and horizontals. There's a couple of interesting settings here. One is exposure, or rather a levels adjuster, that you can make some changes to the levels of the image. But the most interesting one is the one to the right, which is the fusion settings. Because we're using exposure fusion here, you can see the difference that has made now from when we were just looking at a normal preview. And in addition, you've now got extended control over that fusion process. So you can tweak and adjust the fusion settings to your heart's content. So go ahead and check out all these other features that are here. The color website has a great support section where you can find lots of tutorials and advice and help and support on what all these controls do. But for now, I'll just go ahead and I'll close that first screen down. So we've made our changes to this first image. You can see we've got our second and third images. I can go in and edit this second one. Again, it's done a pretty good job, but if I go to my fusion options, you'll see this preview change here. You can see it's a much better result going through the fusion process. And again, I can tweak the fusion parameters as I need. And once we've made any small adjustments, all you need to do now is go to render. I'll just do one for you. You can see it's a 10,000 by 5,000 panorama. I'll turn on exposure fusion since that's the process that we're doing. And I'll just create the single image and I'll hit render and say yes to that, and off it goes and runs a batch process. You can process these one by one, or if you wanted, if you save these files in the right, you can save them as individual projects. And once you do that, it means you could then create all your projects for all your panoramas, and then on a separate machine, or on the same machine afterwards, you can batch render all your projects in one go. If I go back into here, and for example, if I just go straight to render on here, hit render, and if I go back to my, let's just minimize that sec so we can see it, you can see I've now got a second project ready to be rendered. So you can choose how you want to process these, but essentially it's just a matter of saving the projects here and then rendering them straight away, or come back to them at a later date and process them as you need. There's a lot more features actually inside the color software, particularly once you go into this edit area here. There's things like, we've got an adjustment of the scene. You can align this to wherever you want. There's also some really cool features here in changing the visual look of the panorama, and this is what's known as a little planet view. So you've got all these features that you can play around with in the software itself, as well as just the standard stitching process. So definitely encourage you to check out some of those features. That's it. In essence, it's a really straightforward process. The key thing is, if I just load up my source folders again, the key thing is to make sure that you have made the JPEGs from your raw file from iSTAR. And the way to do that is just process them first in Immersive Studio and make sure you check the export the JPEG option. That's assuming that you haven't first shot in JPEG. Of course, if you select JPEG as your capture format in iSTAR, then it will create these by default. So that's it. Process the first scene. So let's go and have a look And here's our JPEG. And if I just launch that so we can take a look at it. There we go, that's it done. You can see we've got a nicely stitched image, no stitch errors, and very nice clean nadir area down the bottom here. You can add whatever logo or anything you want. And that's it basically. That's how to stitch using the new iSTAR plugin for AutoPano+Giga from Color.